And sometimes I think the transparency in the industry is a little bit gatekept. I think we're not really, it's only transparent
if we're asked.
If you're asked, if you have the if you have the right people, and most people don't. Because where are they going to meet a rancher?
Right, not at Costco.
No, I mean unless you happen to be at the Parker, Colorado Costco around Christmas time, I will be there.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Clear Conversations. We're so excited you could be here with us today. As you can see, we have taken the podcast on the road. We're in Nashville at CattleCon today, and we're very excited to be here and talk with some of the ranchers and industry leaders. And we are very excited for our guest today. Her name is Cassidy Johnston. She is a rancher, first-gen rancher, and we're going to talk all about it. So, first of all, Cassidy, just tell me a little about your origin story. I'm so interested by this. First-gen rancher.
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of a weird, long story, but I will shorten it as much as possible. Okay. So I got an environmental studies degree from CU Boulder, hippie school. And while I was a junior, I decided I wanted to do an honors thesis, and by a much longer story than we need to hear, I decided to do a paper about the relationship between environmentalists and ranchers. But I never was a rancher, so I had to go learn about ranching. I started at Colorado State at RDAC, the college farm there, because again, I'd had no experience. And that's actually where I met my husband. They were breeding cows that day, and he told me I needed more lube. That was our first conversation. It was very romantic. And for
a rom-com in the making.
Yes, for your viewers who don't know quite what that means, I mean like when we're AIing cows, it's a gallon pump top of OB lube, which I had never seen. I was horrified, but I did it, and there was that. So after that, the professor that I was working with at CSU, Dr. Ahola, said, "Hey, you should probably go learn about cows." And so I called my mother, because that's what you do when you're 20, yes. Right? Yes. And she was a landman for an oil company at the time. So she called up some of the people that she worked with who owned ranches and said, "Hey, can my kid come and live with you?" And one of them said yes. So I went up for it was supposed to be 3 weeks. I fell in love with it. I stayed the whole summer. They taught me how to hay, or how to put up hay, how to ride a horse, how to put up fence. And then I graduated that December, went back to work for them full time. Bert happened, my husband, the guy who became my husband, happened to be on a ranch just up the road that summer. And there's 12 people in that whole county in Colorado. And so Dr. Ahola was like, guess what? He was invited to our wedding. So then Bert came to work at the same place that spring, and that's kind of all she wrote. So since then, we've worked for large ranches in 3 different states. I split my time now between the production side and the consulting, strategy, comms side.
Yeah, interesting. So why did you fall in love with it? What about it made you fall in love with it?
I don't know. I like to be alone. I'm actually pretty introverted. This is way more, this will absolutely wear me out. I'm going to go back to my hotel room tonight. Yeah. My husband's like, "So you went out for dinner last night, you're going to stay in?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm going to and I'm going to I'm just going to disappear. I'm an Irish goodbye," which is great because my husband's that way too. I really like the tangibleness of ranching. I grew up in a city, and I grew up in a suburb of Denver. I went to Cherry Creek High School, if any of your teachers or listeners know what that is, with a lot of really wealthy kids, and we're very middle class. And so everything felt really fake and contrived, and I just felt like I couldn't keep up with that. I felt really like a fish out of water. And then I went to the ranch and I was like, oh, I really like this. And I really liked feeling tired at the end of the day. And then the more I started learning about, it's fun to go ride horses and drive around in a tractor. I felt really cool. I think I had a really big ego problem that first summer. I think I was pretty awful to be around. But it just felt like home. It really did. And this is all I've done in my adult life. I worked outside for a long time, and then I transitioned to half outside, half office. So I've seen a lot of the industry, and this is one of those industries that the more it's really complex, and we don't always talk about the complexity of it, and I love it. And I love genetics. I love data, and I love making really nice cattle. And I love horses. I'm not a fantastic horsewoman or anything, but we work big ranches, big country, and so it's been fun to finally have my own horses. Because when you're 5 and you live in town, you're like, I want a horse, and your mom's like, so there's some things about that, about why we can't just get a horse. And it's kind of fun that now we can just get a horse. Or 10. Why not? Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we buy more?
Why not? Exactly.
Yeah, they're cheap. They take care of themselves. They cause
transportation.
Yes, they cause no problems.
Right.
They have no bills. They do nothing stupid ever.
Right.
It's basically a return on investment.
Right.
They're not a money pit even a little.
No. Well, you mentioned it there about communication, and that's really kind of your lane that you've gotten into.
Yep.
Why have you gotten into that lane, or why are you so passionate about communicating agriculture?
Because, I think it started, I grew up in town and didn't know anything about ag. I had absolutely no exposure to it. We hear, share your story, which I really hate that phrase. I do. I have a whole keynote about it, about how much I don't like it. Because it doesn't, what I want to convey is it's not my story that matters, it's what people want to know from me. It's what are their questions? What can I answer? Because it's sharing my story, but for who, for what purpose, in what way, and as social media has gotten more popular, there's this emphasis on social. There was a session this morning where they kind of said if you're not sharing, then I disagree with that so much because number one, not everybody should be sharing their story on social, but number two, social media is not our most impactful way necessarily. Everybody has a sphere of influence. And not everybody wants to be on social. It's kind of a pain.
Right,
and
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it opens you up to a lot of negativity and grossness. So the way I like to frame it is there are people who want to know about our industry. So we should tell them. But we're not here to educate. We're here to make relationships and really help people understand what we do and where their food comes from. Not to convince them to eat beef or ranching, but just to give them more information if they would like it, but not to put ourselves at the middle of the conversation. But everybody has a sphere of influence. So if you don't want to share online, maybe you're part of an organization. Maybe you're at the meat case and somebody looks really confused and I'm like, can I help? Is there something? Or I don't know. I was buying a prime rib for Christmas because we get ours cut into rib steaks. It's fine. And people were standing at the meat case going, well, what's the difference between these and these? And I'm like, well, that is boneless and it's a choice. This is a bone-in prime. This will be what I am purchasing this day. And, helping people understand the difference. And that's a connection. They're like, how do you know this? And then you say, I raise cattle. And then they have, lo and behold, they have a million other questions. So you're sitting at the prime rib case at the Costco in Parker, Colorado, talking about ranching. And there's no social there involved. And so... And that was a human relationship, and now they'll leave that relationship being like, I met a rancher today, and that was so cool.
And then they'll take that to the next person and get that information to the next person.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
It's passive advocacy, like passive income. And so social is great, and I know a lot of people get their news and their information from social, but on social media, you are one of thousands. If you were talking to somebody in real life, it's just you and them. And that's all. And yeah, it's harder. It's harder to scale that. But also because in agriculture, we have, especially in the beef industry, we have a great story to tell. We don't do it very well, but we also don't communicate amongst ourselves very well. And so it's more like I came from outside looking in, and I'm like, some of it was like, this is it. This is what we're doing. Not because I'm better, but because I was confused. I was like, wait, this is the way. This is the standard operating procedure for this particular item. And I was on a podcast a few weeks ago, and he asked a question that no one has ever asked, because he was like, what was it like for you when you were first starting out? And I was like a 3-year-old. I was like, why? And a lot of the answer was, well, that's how we've always done it. And I'm like, that is not good enough. I need some data. I need some charts. I need a slide deck, an interpretive dance, if that is your mode of conveying. But why do we raise these cattle? Why do we sell when we do? Why do we ship like this? Why are you freaking out right now? Why? Because I didn't know. And I wanted the information about how to be as helpful and useful as I possibly could. And I was surprised at the number of people who couldn't tell me why. And there's whole businesses based upon this is how we've always done it. And I'm like, well, yeah, we also used to give kids, cocaine and cough syrup. We don't do that anymore, okay?
We know better.
We know better. We used to sell our children when we needed money, okay?
Right. We know better now.
We used to do a lot of weird things.
Right. We're better now.
Have you seen the fashions from the 90s that are coming back? We used to wear bucket hats, unironically. Why? No one knows. And so it was like everybody was wearing a bucket hat and not being able to explain to me what it was for.
Because we've always done it.
Yes, but there were a couple people who were like, because I like this bucket hat. It is the most functional bucket hat. I'm like, that is a reason. It's an arbitrary reason, but at least it's a reason. So that communication is really important to me, particularly also because we have so many young people or people outside the industry who want in, but they don't know how to get here. So if we aren't communicating with each other or building an industry that explains ourselves a little, but not necessarily explains ourselves like in a way that we have something to explain, like something to hide, like we have to show receipts. It's more like welcoming people in and allowing them to be a part of this business because we need them.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, agriculture is a transparent industry for the most part. I think there's a lot of transparency, but I think we do get in the rut of like talking to each other rather than talking to other people that are not in the in agriculture or ranching. And so I like what you're saying there, to actually and meet them where they are, kind of too. Like, what questions
that's
do you
one
have?
of my favorite. Yes, so how can I help? And not belittling people, because I think about like. I always tell people in my audiences, like when I first got into, I do an exercise with young audiences about like how do we build a roadmap through agriculture, and one of the things is what are your skills, and I'm like, if I had filled this out when I was your age, my skills would have been absolutely nothing. I couldn't ride a horse, I couldn't drive a four-wheeler, I'd never driven a stick shift, I didn't know what a baldy cow was, I didn't know anything. And it was people being willing to share what all that is, and so we do have to meet people where they are. It's not their fault they don't know anything about ag. We're less than 2% of the population, which we like to weaponize that statistic, but actually it's an opportunity for us, and we also have to recognize what we are up against, which is all of the misinformation on the internet, all of the noise, all of the other agendas, which you guys work a lot in that area of being like, actually, this is not what you think it is, or it is what you think it is, but it doesn't have the impact you think it might, or like on Princess Bride, you keep saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. And so the way we do that is not by making people feel bad or stupid or unaware. It's by saying, I get this. I get why you have this question, or I get why you're concerned. Let me help you understand. And not to convince them, but just to offer information, because people are smart. They can choose to make a decision one way or the other. And it's not for us to tell them what is good, what is bad. It's to explain the differences. And sometimes I think the transparency in the industry is a little bit gatekept. I think we're not really. It's only transparent if you're asked, if you have the if you have the right people, and most people don't. Because where are they going to meet a rancher?
Right. Not at Costco.
No, I mean unless you happen to be at the Parker, Colorado Costco around Christmas time, I will be there.
We'll see you there.
I'll be taking a picture. I mean, if I did like have public appearances, it would be like at the prime rib case.
You'd be great there. You'd be great. You'd headline. But that's why I love your perspective though too, because I'm not from agriculture either. And so I feel like a lot of the questions I have of farmers and ranchers sometimes are what my friends are asking me, and I'm like, oh, that's a great question. And you probably, what are some of the questions you're getting? I'm just curious from people that aren't in the industry.
The differences between grass and grain finished. What does it actually mean? What do all these labels mean on packages? Do I actually have to worry about mRNA vaccines? That was a big one for a while. That was a real big one thanks to social media. What is the difference between a bull and a heifer? How does it work? Yes, how does this work? And that's all calves are born on farms and ranches, and they go to a soccer background, and then they go to a feed yard if they're being grain, and what's an Angus cow? What is certified Angus? And mostly it's what does this mean? Or I heard this in the news. Should I be concerned? Is this something I should be scared about? Or if I want to buy farmer producer direct beef, where do I go? Can you help me understand quality? Like that kind of stuff, because it really is, at the end of the day, consumers want to know if their food is safe, if it's nutritious, and be reaffirmed in the choices that they're making. Whether or not I think it's a silly choice, doesn't matter. They want to feel like they're making a good choice. And honestly, as a beef producer, if the choice is to eat beef of any kind, from any origin, I'm happy with that choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you communicate, obviously that's what you do, and you gave an amazing presentation today at CattleCon. Tell me a little bit about it. I mean, I'm fangirling over you after it, but tell me a little bit about, and tell the listeners and the viewers a little bit about your discussion
We're not
today.
even at a prime rib, please. So my friend Kim Rounds, she is from Five Rivers Cattle Feeding. She and I did a presentation about leadership in agriculture, in the ranching and beef business in general, because we hear all the time, nobody wants to work anymore. And our thesis is, while that is true in some ways, the workforce has shrunk thanks to advances in technology. Our workforce is getting older. Fewer people are involved in agriculture. It's actually a symptom of a personal problem, a leadership problem, because we don't emphasize good leadership in the beef business. And that's really, really, really going to cost us if we cannot figure out how to change that. And the people who can figure it out are going to have a competitive advantage over those who do not. And we have so many young people who are desperate to get into this business. I mean, the number, especially young women, because the path is not very clear for young women. They just want somebody to give them a chance. And since I literally got here, because somebody was like, yeah, sure, send your kid who's never lived more than a mile from a Starbucks to come and work for us. It's possible. It takes some work. A lot of the people afterward were either young people saying, how do I get a job? Or owners and managers being like, how do I deal with these freaking interns? So it's this too. And I understand both sides.
Right.
Totally,
right,
completely.
Right.
But we aren't doing a great job being intentional about leadership. Because, in the corporate world, we talk about company culture. I have a lot of corporate clients, and they love to talk about their culture and their mission statements, mission, vision, values. And in the absence of an intentional culture, something else will fill that vacuum. And a lot of ranches have that something else. And if you are not building it intentionally, and I say this from experience, we've worked for a lot of ranches. We've day worked on a lot more. We have, the thing is, in agriculture, we might have like a bunch of strong, quiet cowboys. We all gossip. We spill tea all over the place, all of us. So if you are a bad place to work, we know it. We talk about you. We talk about you. We talk about your mom. We talk about your dogs. Like, we all know. And so we're a chatty industry. So we all, I've heard horror stories from my friends. I've experienced some really awful things from very impressive people. Like we were just talking to a young man, and this kid, he wants to be impressive, and he wants everybody in here to take him seriously, which, I understand that down to my bones. But I'm like, listen, some of these are wonderful people. Other ones have a little bit more going on behind that curtain, and we don't call it out. Or we all know about it. But the problem is that that's people's real lives. And when you work for a ranch, it's your whole life. It's your house, it's where you live, it's your boss, it's your source of income. For working ranch families like mine, because my husband's also first gen, we don't own a ranch, we don't own cattle, not in this market. Eventually we will own cattle. But it's expensive, and you don't make a ton of. That's why I have another job. But it's just a really, really, really hard industry to navigate. And if you didn't grow up in it, it feels even more foreign, because, like I tell people all the time, I didn't know what FFA was until I was in my late 20s. I'd never heard of it. We had Future Business Leaders of America at my high school. We didn't have FFA. And people will look at me like, what do you mean? And I'm like, why would I have a Future Farmers of America chapter? Like, I grew up with kids who played polo. And flew on their plane to go to Vail. There probably is somebody in Vail who grows something, okay, but this is not FFA.
Right.
And it doesn't make me better or worse or stupid or whatever it is, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And we just don't always make room for different and unconventional. And I love the tradition because sometimes people are like, you just want to tear it all down. I'm like, no, I do not. I love the tradition of the beef industry. The way we run the ranches that we run is we love big country western, horses and dropping people off and handshakes and all. We love the tradition as long as it makes sense. And I love how the tradition of the beef industry grounds us. But sometimes it's like, when you give a little kid a kitten, like a barn cat, and they squeeze it because they love it so much, and you're like, okay, listen. And that's release the kitten. That's how I feel about the beef industry. Like, we hold on to it so tightly because we love it, but we're gonna strangle it if we don't allow it some freedom and air, just like let it breathe a bit. And our job as producers is to say, what does that look like? And for a lot of us, it's going to be inviting young people who don't have experience to come work for us.
And making this an attractive occupation for them, which is, we talk about it in sustainability. Dr. Frank Mittlener, that's one of his pillars of sustainability, is having a workforce and making sure that farms and ranches are sustainable with workers coming in and making this an attractive occupation for them. And you talked about it today, but advice for kids out there, for young people getting into this industry, what's a pro tip that you could give them to help them out?
I have a couple, probably. My first one is just go get a job. Any job in the beef industry. I don't care if it's cattle facts or risk management or a feed yard or a seed stock place. And then, especially for young women, because this is a harder industry to break into, find out what you're good at and what adds value. For most women, that's not going to be like, I can weld. I'm sure there are wonderful women welders out there. It is unlikely, if we're being super honest, that you're going to get hired for a physical only job on a ranch. But if you can AI, if you're great at records, if you are aces at genetics, if you can calve heifers, if you are excellent at working cattle, if you can, I don't know, maybe a CDL. I don't have a CDL. None of you want me in a semi truck, but I do know some gals who, you have to add value and skills to make you a more attractive, safer prospect.
I feel like that's hard for women in particular sometimes to boast about ourselves a little bit, but you have to.
Well, and in an industry that's very physical, we have to be super honest about the differences, and if a ranch has one position, they're almost always going to hire a man, which is why I have I split my time. But I don't say that to be like a buzzkill. It's like, you have value. You just got to find it and you got to tell people about it. Sometimes you need a piece of paper that says you do, because people are looking for that. You just have to find who's hunting for those skills. Maybe you can learn how to ultrasound and that becomes part of your job. Maybe you're excellent at numbers and there is a seed stock place. I think seed stock is a great entry point for a lot of kids because they hire big teams. You will get your hands on more cattle than you will in almost any sector of the production side of the business. Go to work and build a network. And I have a whole thing about it because it's really intimidating. But this business thrives on networks. And if you can build a good one, and it starts with being useful yourself. Be useful before you are impressive. Find excellence. That's something Gen Z has a really hard time recognizing, is what is excellence? Who are these people that are worth my admiration? It's almost never the loudest ones, right? Because this is the age of TikTok and influencers and social media, and I love that. We have a lot of stellar influencers in this business. But sometimes those are not always the people to emulate, So finding real life mentors, real life people who are invested in you as a person, there is absolutely no possible way my husband or I would be where we are without mentors. And mostly you get that by working. Go work hard. There's going to be times where you hate your job. This is a very hard business to be in, but if you want to be here, there's a place for you. but you gotta work for it, you know. So just go get a job.
And I like what you said too in the discussion today in your presentation. You talked about, it might be your first job, but it's not going to be for your forever job. It's a chapter, and that's okay. Learn from that job and then take it to the next job.
Yep, that's a Kimism because she works with, she's on the HR side of Five Rivers cattle feeding. So she is the person. She brings in all these young people and puts them places. And cattle feeding is a hard business. And you may get into it and realize, oh, this is not my hard business. I don't want to be here anymore. And, we understand that. But so she sees so many more young people than I do. But it's a good reminder that you can start here. You don't have to end here. This is just another way for you to gain experience and get your foot in the door. Because that's really what it is for young people, especially if you didn't grow up here. You have to get your foot in the door. But all the time I'll hear well, I want to be a ranch manager. That's great. You have 10 or 15 years.
Right.
You got a while. So go work. Go get a job and probably get slightly underpaid. And
all right. We've all been there.
This is not a great paying business. It does. It builds a lot of character and budgetary constraints.
Yes.
But
yes,
it is. I don't like when we kind of tell people it's hard for me, so it should be hard for you. I don't like that.
Right.
But when things are hard, it makes us better.
We learn from that.
When we get to the other side of hard, it's just one of those things where I think about some of the hardest stuff that we have done. I had a guy on LinkedIn once. He was kind of coming after me a little bit, and he was like, "You don't know hard work until you've calved heifers in Montana. You should ask so and so about that." I was like, "Oh, honey, I don't have to ask." I did that for 2 years. Timed AI. 40 calves a night. We had a deal one year. We had calves getting enterotoxemia in utero and being born super sick all night long in Montana. It is storming. I'm like, I can feel in my body all about calving heifers in Montana. Bless you, kind sir. Thank you for your input. But it's made me better because if you do really hard things, the next hard thing will be easier. And if you put yourself through some stuff, nothing will ever be harder than those 2 years. And we also calved heifers in another horrible place. We had my first calving season in Rand, Colorado, which is North Park. We had snow every single day for over 40 days.
Oh my God!
In calving season.
We're from California, Cassie.
Yeah.
We don't play like that.
I think it sucked years off my life. But nothing is ever going to be that hard.
Right.
So I'm like,
I gotcha.
It's one of those I got it. We're fine. But in my mind, I'm like, that was so bad. That was so awful. But when we do really hard things and deal with really difficult people and situations, it makes us better. It makes us tough. And I don't think we should be made tough for the purpose of being, needlessly tough. This business is hard enough. We don't need to make it harder. But you will surprise yourself with what you are capable of if you challenge yourself and say, the only way out is through. And in this business, we have to have that because there are times when animals are depending on us. Cows don't need us to live, but they sometimes need us to survive. We don't need to babysit them, but there are times when if you don't do this thing, something will suffer, something will die. So you kind of have to learn how to say, triage, all right. And we can't do this too much. We do push ourselves too hard sometimes. And that's why we have some of the other problems in the industry. But man, if you can have the skill of this is really hard right now, and we're going to get through it. I don't know how. We are going to caffeinate. We are going to sleep in our overalls in the vet room in questionable armchairs of dubious origin. We are going to, I don't know what we're going to do. My husband and I have so many memories of being exhausted and slap happy in the truck, singing to stay awake, checking cows, and neither one of us can sing. And the fact that he was even talking loudly should have been an indicator that we have some things have gone very badly. But it's, and I always tell people, if you can calve cows with your spouse and you guys both come out good, that's a good indicator that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yes ma'am. So It's a little bit of a trial by fire, but I think that's how your life should kind of feel when you're young. You should be having new experiences to the degree that you don't feel comfortable. Like you wake up every day and you're like, what am I doing?
It's okay to be
Yes, it is. And it's not like fake it till you make it. I don't like that advice. But it's more like we need to be reaching a little bit. Like we need to be trying new things and getting out of our comfort zone and maybe having some times where you look back and you're like, what happened? Like, what was that? Like, oh my gosh. And that's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's totally good. Yeah.
And it makes you feel alive, you know?
Yeah, it does. So you talked about the hard times there. Let me just ask you, was there a time when you were out at the ranch or you were doing something that you were like, I was born to do this. Like, this is where I was meant to be in life?
No.
No? Okay.
I mean, to a degree, I'm here for a reason. My path went the way that it did because, I mean, I believe that God sets us up for things. I feel like an imposter still a lot.
Oh, an imposter syndrome.
Yes, which my therapist and all of my life coaches are like, we've talked about this. But I think it's helpful for young people to hear that, like, even when you are established, I mean, I really love now that I get to come to these conferences and I have friends. I have people here that I'm happy to see. You know, we get to go and nobody is more surprised than me that people want to hear me talk. I don't understand that. I try to be as helpful as I can, but sometimes people are like, oh, you know, I love this or that. And I'm like, thank you. I don't know what to say. It makes me feel really weird because I spent so many years just not knowing where I fit here. And I don't always still, but I think it's important to tell young people, like, there may not be a time where you feel as though you've arrived, because we never have. But I think the closest, you know, we've had a couple of times. Here's a story. Here's one. We were pap testing bulls because we've always done high altitude, but Dr. Tim Holt, who is a legend, I love him, in Montana, and we were videoing bulls that same day. They had a big bull sale, and so the rest of the cow crew was videoing, and then they sent the bulls over to me and some, again, dubious day help of very dubious origin. And they were mad because they've been messed with all morning. And all I knew, this was like my second or third year ranching, all I knew was it's my job to keep the tub full. Like Dr. Holt, he drove all the way up here from Colorado. We are working. That was my job. At the end of the time, he looked at me and handed me a $50 bill. And I wish I would have framed it because he said, I saw you back there. You kept my chute full, you kept these bulls calm, and I was like, okay, so maybe I'm not a complete, useless waste of space. And then there's been other times where, like, somebody that I really admire has said, you know, good job, sis. And I'm like, okay. So what I want people to know is you just may never feel, and some people do. I know that there are other people who do not have imposter syndrome the way that I do. It's not necessarily imposter syndrome. It's just more like, I'm just tickled to be here. I'm just happy. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you want to talk to me? Okay, let's talk. I like your water. Like, this is great. But there may be some times where you're like, it's more like, I'm helpful now. Mm-hmm. I can help. I have value.
Yes.
Because the very first piece of advice that I got that I remember, my first boss they were husband and wife, and she was like 100 pounds soaking wet, this tiny little woman. And I'm not a big lady, so it was great to learn from her. But she just looked at me and said, see how you can help. And it may be filling up a bucket of water. It may be sweeping the vet room floor. It may be learning how to suture a prolapse. I don't know. But like, it's a whole range of see how you can help. And when I started to be able to see how I could help and where my hands could go and really start to get my mind around the business, that's when I was like, okay, I think I have something to add. I will never stop feeling like I have so much to learn, but that doesn't mean I can't be helpful, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I haven't arrived, but I'm here.
You're here with us.
I'm here.
You're here with us. We can't thank you enough. What I really appreciate following you on social media is you're very honest, and I really appreciate that. Honest, transparent. Anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to add? Anything I didn't touch upon?
You didn't ask me what my favorite dinosaur was, which is.
Oh, well, I mean, why not?
I have
We have
sons.
time. I mean,
So
you have 3 sons,
I have 3
right?
sons. Yes, it's an ankylosaurus. It's the one with the he's my favorite. I also like triceratops. No, I'm just tickled to be here, and I think if anybody is watching this who is young and they want to be here or they want to learn more about the beef industry, like there's room. I just want kids to understand there's room for you, and not even just kids. It's a little harder the older you get, but there is room for you here. We don't always do a great job inviting people in, and I wish we were, but not just in inviting people in, but like making them a seat at the table, like saying here, because one of my favorite things about conferences like this is I usually get a DM or something from a college kid. I love to grab a nervous college kid because people did that for me. I'm not extroverted enough to do that for myself, but I'm like, if I have an excuse to take you around and introduce you to people, like, come on, it's like my warm intro. Like, hey, we've met, but I need you to meet this guy. Like, especially young women, it's just harder to do that. So I think what I want people to know is that if you have the ability to reach down behind you and grab the next person and bring them up, please do it, because that is the only way this business works. And it makes us better. And that's kind of Pollyanna, like if we all just help each other and do our best. But it's kind of true. You know, if we invest it in we're in the beef business, but this is actually a people business, because this is one of, we have AI, we have robots, but like this is still a very human, hands-on, like I have to do this work or else no one else is going to do it kind of job. And that is rare and lovely. And there's something really kind of noble about that, which is I know what attracts people to this business. But we need people. We need people. So it's our job to go and find them and invite them and pull them up with us and say, you know, hey, you haven't met this person, I think you should. And it's so good and reminds us who we are and keeps us humble and keeps us grounded and makes us, not even reminds us who we are, makes us actively remember what we are here to do, which I don't think we always do.
Yeah, sometimes we forget. Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day.
Thank you. I'm
You're
so happy
lovely
to be
talk
here.
to.
Well, thank you.
Yes, you're lovely to talk to. Thank you for.
Wait, I need a badge that says "lovely to talk to." Like
you are.
Actually, Kim Rounds and I want a badge that says I'm cooler on the internet.
Yeah, I
I'm
did
cooler
like that in your
online.
presentation.
We are. We are
way. Personal, I will say, Cassidy.
Well,
I will say.
They're reading our bios and we're like,
who are those ladies?
That sounds really impressive.
She sounds fun.
Wow.
That's me.
Awkward. Like.
Well, thank you for being here.
I'm so glad to be here.
And we hope you'll join us again on Clear Conversations.